Welcome to Handmade HQ. I'm Alison Milton.
And I'm Hugh Milton.
And together we are Alison and Hugh's Handmade Things. And here's a surprise, we hand make all our own things. So everything you see here is stuff that we've made to sell to you lovely people. This is our virtual shop for Torm. And we're going to take you through some of the things we make. I'm going to start by talking about the leatherwork I make, and then later on we'll go through some of the other things. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the pouches I make. They're all provenanced. These ones are based on pouches in purses in pieces. These ones are 17th century, based on a woodcut of a soldier turning a beggar away from the gates of Winchester. This one here is based on a misericord in St Lawrence Church, Ludlow, which is 14th or 15th century, according to the person who dated the misericords. I've got ones here with fancy stitching around the edges. I've got some larger ones. These also are from pouches in pieces. They're slightly larger. Behind me, I've got a frame purse based on one. Well, you find them all over the place, but in particular, there's one on an effigy in Glastonbury. I've got some round purses. They're Tudor, they're slightly later than the others. These ones are relatively plain, but this one has got extra pockets. It's got two little pouchlets inside. I don't know whether you can see them, little pouchlets here. And actually, there's another compartment further down, which I can't show to you, but take my word for it. There's a halfway across compartment. Most of these pouches are single pockets, just because it's easier and it fits into the normal budget. But some of them are multiple pouches. So this one's got 3 little pouchlets. It's got a compartment here, and it's got another compartment here. And it's thought that the reason for having the other compartment up is to stop pickpockets. It's fine for something like a mobile phone or a handkerchief or whatever else you need to put in there. Just don't put little tiny coins. If you do, you need to have them in a little skin bag. This one has got all the bells and whistles. So it's got lots of compartments. It's got little pouchlets, and in the middle here, it's got some wax tablets. I can't do it without putting it on a belt, but take my word for it. It's got some little wax tablets, and again, it's got the extra compartment. This one's at the front. Obviously, once you've got the strap done up, it'll stop the pickpockets for a moment or two. They can either pickpockets. I make cases. This one's sized to take spectacles because I had a commission for one, but you could also put other items in it. These ones, little round ones, you could put a glass in here. In fact, there is a glass in this one, and this one's for sale with the glass. It's a rather nice replica 15th century glass. Someone's going to tell me it's not 15th century now. Then I've got leather cases for, well, they're musical instrument cases. Listen, it's musical. This one's, I think, for a shawm. That was for a flute. Recorders. Then I've got one here with also with wax tablets in. Little ones that are needle cases. I think that mostly covers the cases. I've got here a dice cup with some handmade dice. They're almost guaranteed to be either high or low. They're pretty much guaranteed not to be fair. You have been warned. I just don't play with a hand maker of things. Belts, garters. I have here, we're slightly later again. A lot of the stuff I've been showing you is medieval. This is slightly later. This is the Mary Rose. So this is Tudor. Leather water bottles. Although that said, the design of them is pretty much medieval. The documents about the Mary Rose do comment how the design is much earlier than the Mary Rose itself. On the same theme as the Mary Rose, I've got here a rather lovely bag from the Mary Rose. When it's displayed in the museum, it's always displayed on a mount, so it looks like it's a case, but in fact it's a drawstring bag. I've assumed that the drawstrings want to be linen because they didn't survive underwater. So if they'd been leather thong, they'd have, or silk ribbon, they'd have survived underwater probably. So that's most of the leatherwork. Braces, this here is from the Newport ship, which is a 15th century find. That's the only 15th century bracer known from Britain. This one's based on the Mary Rose, so that's slightly later, but again it would be a design that probably would have been seen. And then just for a little bit of fun, a friend spoke about how his armour looked like a mechanical bat, and I thought, oh, I need to make a bat. I really need to make a mechanical bat. So yeah, that's leather as well, leather wings and a little knitted body. So there you go. I think this is most of the leather work I make.
One area where Alison and I work quite closely together is in the smaller, more domestic items of living history. If we just start with what you need to keep your house up, guy ropes, good sturdy hardwood and good sturdy wood. Hanging up your clothes. We've made a number for historic houses and other organisations. We do different styles. This is just a fairly basic style that runs medieval through to the 1900s. Replica games, quoits in this case. We do others on commission for organisations and individuals alike. Small craft boxes. This one has a tray for keeping the smaller items, larger items underneath, or again based on original designs, small ones for without a tray in that case. Every man needs to eat, and in this case we have a spoon rack, very Welsh in design, medieval right through to the present day almost. This one's a hanging one, very common in smaller houses. And we also make the spoons, various handmade by me, or for other domestic settings, a flower scoop or any other item. I think now if I hand you over to Alison, she can talk about the textile tools.
We make quite a lot of textile tools, thank you, Hugh. This here is my personal distaff with my personal spindle in it. We do make and sell spindles in wood, metal. This is lead-free pewter. We do lead as well, and potsherd based on archaeological finds. For processing wool, we have, these are our prototype wool combs. We are making more. These pair I've used for a film or two, so those ones aren't actually for sale. We do carders. These ones have a modern backing, but for carding wool, we make them with a modern backing so that they're a good sturdy textile tool that you can use every day if you like. We try and keep the price roughly similar to what you'd pay for a modern set of carders, but obviously these will pass the 10-foot rule. But we're very excited to tell you that we found some leather-backed card cloth. So if you want, you can have some truly authentic carders, but they will be quite a lot more expensive because the leather-backed card cloth is quite a lot more expensive. We have these, which are yarn winders, and you're going to be screaming at the screen now saying, it's a niddy noddy. Well, it's a niddy noddy from the 19th century onwards, but as far as we know, the term niddy-noddy wasn't used in the medieval period. The shape was, but the term wasn't. So we just call them yarn winders. It saves arguments, but then people can call them what they like. We've got here beeswax. People often ask, what's beeswax used for? Everything. Absolutely everything. From salves to sewing, from glue to sort of stopping drawers from from sticking. We've got here, it's a very good example of use of beeswax, a piece of linen cloth dipped in beeswax, and it makes an excellent cover for your jug to keep the leaves and the flies out of your drink. We've got our normal range of haberdashery. We've got linen thread. This is for sewing leather. This is finer for sewing cloth or finer leather. And we've got some silk. We've got some linen tape in 3 different widths. We have a small range of leather tools. This is a modern awl if you want to do some leather work. We've got awls. These here, people often ask what they are. These are knitting sticks. They're for anchoring my belt's getting very full. Anchoring the right hand needle as you knit in the round. So if you're knitting stockings or gloves or something, you'd anchor the right hand needle here, and then when you need to stop knitting for a moment to maybe open a gate as you walk to market while knitting, your knitting stays in place. So it supports the weight and it stays in place. You'd have your ball of wool in a pocket, and then you're completely portable. You don't need to put it down while you open the gate and then go back for it. So that's knitting sticks. I think that completes the list of domestic items, don't you, Hugh?
Yes. It's never just restricted to that. And if there's something you're looking for, you can always just give us a call and find out if we can make it for you. One area we specialise in at Alison and Hugh's Handmade Things is furniture. Now, often when you come and see us at a market, you see what's effectively a smaller range of what we make. A lot of the furniture that we make has to be portable for reenactors. So as well as what you see on display in stock, you have to bear in mind that we also make full-size furniture. We've made 9, I think, tables for a 13th century Prince's Court. We've made benches and tables for medieval halls and houses and castles. We've made a Tudor rocking cradle, carved. We make beds. There's a 5-foot quarter sawn English oak in a castle in Wales that we've made. So what I'm going to show you now is just a little microcosm of what we make in the wider medieval and other periods world. We've made things for Iron Age roundhouses right up to a First World War chest for kit. So we do cover a whole range of periods. Today we've got a small selection to show you, just to give you a feel for what we make. Sewing boxes with trays. I say sewing boxes, craft boxes. Now some of them are carved. Obviously, if they're carved, they're a bit more money. Or you can go for smaller boxes, which can be used for storing everyday items. And then we start going up in scale. Nice decorative boxes. Or I'll bring this one over. Alison will show you more later. This one is a small chest that doubles as a bench. I spoke at the start about reenactment furniture. Here you've got one piece of furniture that does 2 items. It's a bench and it's a chest for storing things. We also, I said earlier, make tables. For example, this one where we've got with our wares on. Again, it's quite hard to show you at events because all too often we've got stock put on them, but we do sell the tables that are there. So never forget, we say if it's been a good event, if we're trading off the floor, it's come dangerously close a couple of times. One area I've touched on already is carved furniture. Now, as is always the way, I've only got a few bits to show you because they're very popular. Whenever I produce one, it seems to sell quite quickly. To give you an idea of the work we do, this is a carved top rail for a panelled chest that I'm working on at the moment, 16th, 17th century. Unhelpfully, they didn't carve a date on it, but that's from the form of the carving, that's the period. From an earlier period, this is just a test piece where I was checking I was happy with the symmetry and the proportion of the carving. This is medieval carving for a carved chest that I'm working on at the moment.
Is that one for sale, Hugh?
That one is. This one isn't, because
that's mine.
That's Alison's. I gave it to her. This one will be for sale when I finish the panel chest. It's going to be just over 2 foot wide, a foot square. So, and it's based on an original, but I'm still working on it as ever. So that gives you a feel for these. If I can ask Alison to move the camera slightly just to show you a few more of them. A range of size chests, that one I showed you earlier, but all these I've designed to be sat on, obviously. Even that could be sat on by a small child.
Just demonstrate sitting on that chest, Hugh, so they can see how comfortable it is.
They're made at the same height of stools. We also make stools, but I keep selling them.
Now I'm going to talk to you about the knitted hats I make. They're for a range of periods, from medieval through to 17th or 18th century. This here, it looks like a joke. It's not actually. It's got a thrummed cap, and it's for 17th, 18th century sailors. The purpose of the little lengths of thread or thrums is to shed the rain. It's much warmer because, of course, you didn't have fire on board a ship, so they'd have got pretty darn cold. Right, then I have this one, which is based on an archaeological find from Dordrecht. It's somewhere dated between 1421 and 1603. The archaeological record is sealed from between those dates. We have here what we call a rolled brim cap, which it's a very simple shape, and it can be rolled all the way down, so you can have it nice and warm over your ears, or you can roll it up to have it much tighter so that it's cooler in summer. This one's dyed with madder. You can see it's slightly uneven, but I think that's part of its charm. I've got various of them here. I've got a little stack of different sizes and different colours. It's not one big stripy hat. I have here, this is based on the hat that Henry VII wore on his tomb effigy. Before him, there are images of Richard III wearing the same hat, although they take that with a slight pinch of salt because the images of Richard III were painted during the reign of Henry Tudor. But it's a nice hat, and it folds flat for transport. This one here's got a shallower brim because this is actually based on the there's an image of a carpenter and his wife, and he's wearing this shallow brimmed version of the same hat. And you've probably spotted that Hugh wears a similar hat. It's a carpenter's hat, of course he wears it. We have here the Tudor flat caps. They're various colours, various sizes. If you want to adjust the size, you can actually put a string or a band around the around the brim here, and you can tighten it, and you can also have it decorative, so you can have a contrast. You can have maybe green here, that would look rather nice. And again, they're different sizes and different widths of brim. A similar hat, but different, is a half brim. Same sort of idea. The one I copied this from has some decoration on the end of the brim here, so it's a lot of people wear it as a neck flap, but they're probably, the one I based it on was probably worn something like that. So with the end of the brim over the eye, probably over the left eye. Obviously it's not going on over my coif, because you wouldn't, if it's got decoration here, you wouldn't have it as a neck flap because that wouldn't show. A little bit of bullion decoration. It's quite pretty actually, apart from the fact it's corroded in the soil over several hundred years. We have, this is based on, there's various medieval images of people wearing two coloured hats. With a lot of my hats, there's no, apart from the Tudor ones, there's no actual physical evidence of them, but we've got a lot of images, and we have to extrapolate that they were knitted. But this and the roll brim is a shape that knitting wants to be, the same with the Henry VII style. I can make all of these in knitting with no sewing and no cutting. So it makes sense that they would have been, that they could have been knitted. Obviously you can make it in cloth, some people do, I've got no argument with that. I just think that it's very, very plausible that they would be knitted. Another one that's a knitted style that I make, this is based on a portrait of Joris Fansel from the 16th century. You can see it's very similar in shape to the Henry VII, but slightly different. And it's got a slight peak on the face. And then if you look, Dave, the head of modelling, he won't wave back. He's wearing what looks superficially like the same hat, but is actually a different construction. It has a doubled brim. And then we have also a similar hat, these ones, which is based on images of pilgrims. So again, it's a similar type of hat, but it's a slightly different construction. So there we, oh, that's all of them. That's all the ones I have in stock. No, it isn't. I remember. Hugh's pointed helpfully from behind the camera. We have they're known as Monmouths occasionally. They're probably not Monmouth caps. The one in the museum in Monmouth probably isn't what was referred to in Shakespeare and in other contemporary accounts as a Monmouth cap. It's probably just a labourer's cap. But this style, they're nice. They're thick. They've got a doubled brim. They've got a little handy hook so you can hang it up. They're a good hat. They're just probably not the Monmouth cap. But on the other hand, everybody likes to call them Monmouth caps. On that slight thing, people sometimes call these Monmouth caps. There's a lot of confusion. But I think that's hats done. Don't forget that we also do demonstrations either in person when it's not a pandemic, or on film. We can do demonstrations of woodwork, leatherwork, knitting, textiles, that sort of thing. Oh, and we do everything from Roman through to 17th century. So if you want to book a demonstration, please do contact us.